very first question for you guys would be, which is the use effect that will be executed first? I'm sure at least half of you would have not able to answer this properly. Okay. Hello all. Welcome back to Career with Vasanth YouTube channel. My name is Vasanth. I hope you all doing well. This is a very important video where I'm gonna answer and explain 10 important ReactJS hard difficulty questions for freshers. So if you're a mid-range or a senior developer, this is going to be around a moderate difficulty questions for you. So despite your experience level, this video is going to be very helpful. And most of the questions asked here are very thought-provoking. Despite you are using ReactJS in CS, you will definitely struggle to answer some of the questions that I'll ask. And these are very important from the interview point of view. So please watch the video till the end. All the questions I'll be answering in detail. And if you see me first time on the internet, I'm Vasanth. I basically help candidates to clear their interview. I make interviews about front-end and interview preparation. Okay. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Without wasting further time, let's get started. So I have created, as you can see, a simple project, and right side I have the browser, and I have created all the 10 exercises are ready with me. Okay. Let's go to the first exercise. Very, very simple. I think most of you would think like this is a no-brainer and you'll be able to answer it correctly. But let's see how many of you really answer correctly. So this is the code snippet where I have a useEffect and I have a rendering the value of count here, whose default value is 0. Inside useEffect, I'm incrementing the value by 1. So you can pause the video and mention like video timing as like or the question number 1 and your answer. If you rightly answer, wonderful. If you don't, then listen to my explanation. Okay. So let me just uncomment here. Okay. So as you can see, the output is 1. Okay. Why the output is 1 is because the count value is by default is 0. And after that, actually the useEffect gets rendered. If I had to simply show you the diagrammic way of explaining. So the first will be like render. Okay. First the things will be rendered on the screen. The first thing. Then what we'll do, we will do the set state. Whatever you see like useEffect and we have a set stated, that will happen here. Okay. That's set state. Followed by again there is another render. So that will basically re-render the value of count as 1. Okay. Sorry for my drawing, but to a high level I wanted to explain. So 3 operations. So first is the render, second one is a set state, third is again a render, which will actually update the value of count by 1. Recently I asked this question on my LinkedIn as well as on my YouTube channel. A lot of people have answered it as 0. A lot of people have answered it like the useEffect runs indefinitely. That is not the answer. So this is the answer. Okay. Now comes slightly trickier part. Okay. So where I will update the value like this. I'm not saving it because I want you to guess the answer. For this, again, you can mention as questions 1b. To take a minute, think what will be the output and mention the output. Okay. Now I'm going to save the code and refresh it here. So the count is actually 2. If you see here, I have 2 useEffects, which has 2 dependency array, and the value passed to dependency array, no value passed basically. No state variable is passed here. So whenever very first question for you guys would be, which is the useEffect that will be executed first? Okay, if you know the answer, wonderful. If not, whenever there are 2 useEffects with no dependency values, then React would execute them in the order they are present. Okay, let's say this is a useEffect 1, this is useEffect 2, then useEffect 1 will be executed first, followed by useEffect 2. But the problem here is useEffects are executed, as you know, in asynchronous order. They're not executed sequentially, correct? So, but React would ensure, despite they are executed in an asynchronous order, they are executed in the order of their creation or in the order of the sequence with which they are created. So always this useEffect 1 will be created first, followed by useEffect 2. But the order is guaranteed, but the execution is always asynchronous. Remember that. It's not like after this executed, this will be executed, or the value of count will be updated here and that count value can be used here. No. Okay. Now I explain the why count is 2 instead of 3. Most of you might have thought it is 3. It's not 3. The reason being, so the first, this useEffect need to be executed, followed by the second useEffect. Correct. So whenever the first useEffect is getting executed, the value of count is 0. Okay. That is updated by 1. So in this case, the value of count has become 1. And next, the second useEffect will start getting executed, where the value of count according to you is 1, but it's not 1. The React would still consider the value of count as 0 only, and it will add 0 plus 2 and it will make the count as 2. So now both have been completed execution. React would discard the first useEffect and use only the second useEffect as the most updated value. Okay. It might be slightly confusing, but this is how the React works. Okay. You might question like, Vasanth, why the second useEffect is not taking count as 1? The problem here is again the asynchronous way of execution. What if the first useEffect takes slightly more time and the second useEffect is not getting the value of the count by the time it starts executing? correct? So I'm just understand things properly. They are asynchronous, but they executed sequentially. Okay, that doesn't mean they'll end the execution. useEffect 1 might take more time than the useEffect 2. Correct? So by the time useEffect 1 is executed, or by the time when useEffect 2 starts executing, it may not get the most updated value of count from useEffect 1. Correct? So because of which the React has a rule where it will consider the initial value, whatever the state variable, and then it executes. Okay, because of which we're getting this answer. I'm sure at least half of you would have not able to answer this properly. Okay, I'm happy that at least I'm able to help you in that way. Now we'll go to exercise 2. Okay, again I'm not saving here. Let's go to exercise 2. Again a very simple. So we have set text and we have a handle click. There's a button. Whenever you click the button, we are setting the set text with text plus word and React. Okay, if you know the answer, again please mention the question number 2 and your answer. If you already added one comment, just edit the comment by adding the question number 2 and give your answer. Okay, let me save and I'll show you what is the output. Okay, so the output is React. So if you observe carefully, what we did is I appended text with word, and then I added the set text as React. You very well know, like I already explained, the set text is again a asynchronous operation, but executed in the order of the sequence that is mentioned. So first it will mention like text plus word, that is set, and followed by React. So whatever most recent is set, definitely that value is retained. So the value here is React. Okay, now let's go to the exercise number 3. I'm sorry, not here. Let's go to exercise 3. Okay, first I'll show things to you. So we have count, set count, and we have a set interval here and clear interval and the count. Again, if you know the answer, question number 3, or edit the comment, mention your answer. So here we have a set interval. Okay, and inside the set interval we are trying to update the previous value of the whatever the count was there. Okay, let me save and let me show you and what is the output. Yeah, so now let's see what is the output. Exercise 3. So you start seeing the counter 1, 2, 3. So again the explanation is very straightforward. This just to give you, like, for you guys to get a little confused. Nothing much happening here. So we have a set interval which is initiated as soon as the app is rendered. So every 1 second that interval is getting rendered, and the value of it is keep incrementing by 1. So it's as simple as that. Let's say you navigate from this page to other page, that will be like clear. Okay, very simple. Now we'll go to exercise 4, where I intentionally included a class-based component. The reason for that is, despite most of you started now learning the functional component, there are still a lot of applications which are using the class-based component. So interview, they might ask you to know some amount of class-based component. Okay, so the question here is, if you look, let me just update it. Okay, so it's exercise 4, here also exercise 4. So I'll come back. So it's very simple again. So we have a constructor, and default value of count is 2, and I have a component did mount. For those of you who don't know, this is a like useEffect with no parameters, no dependency here. It's like whenever the component is mounted, it will get rendered. Okay, so you're setting the value of count to 1, followed by you have the count, then again you're setting the value of count plus 1, then again you're trying to log the value. Okay, so two statements which are repeated, state value plus 1, count value, or state.count plus 1 in both the cases, and you are logging them, and here you are rendering the state.count. So my question is very simple. What will be logged in line number 11 and line number 13, and what will be rendered on the line number 17? Okay, so if you know the answer, again just mention it in the comment section. If not, I'm going to show you what is the answer. Okay, so if I go and uncomment, as you see, the values are actually the rendered on this here are actually 0 0 0 0, 4 zeros, followed by the value of count is just 1. Okay, so here also if you see, it is same as whatever we did in the set state. So despite we were trying to update the value of count by 1, the updated value here, that doesn't work that way. The reason being, the state update process is a batch process. It's not gonna like you set the state and next line you get the updated state. No, React is gonna take its own sweet time. It's gonna merge the list of things that need to get updated, and then it would update. Okay, so because of that, the value of count in both of these logs is actually 0. Okay, then whenever this finally whatever is rendered on the screen is obviously 1, because after the set state is completed, the UI would re-render. Whenever UI would re-render, it will try to access the value of count, which is definitely 1. Okay, now we'll go to exercise number 5. So let me close this and open exercise number 5. Again, very interesting snippet. So where Just for the sake, let me like minimize so that you could see the complete code. Okay, so where we have exercise number 5, again we have count as 0 and we have increment count, which has actually two set state options. Okay, and both the set state has doing the same thing. It is taking the previous state and adding the count value, incrementing the count by 1. Okay, so whenever you click the button, my question would be, every time whenever you click on increment, what will be the value of 18? Let's say you click on 1, what will be the output? You click on 2, what will be the output? Okay, again, if you know the answer, please mention that in the comment section by editing your comment. So now we'll go and see what will be the output. Let me click increment once. So the value is actually 2. Again, let me increment by one more time. The value is 4. So putting other way, every time whenever I click on an increment button, the value is updating by 2. How it is updating value by 2 here, but did not work on the other places? Correct. Let's say if you go to probably exercise 2, here we would be expecting like first text plus will be rendered followed by React, right? That way it's not happening, but here it is happening. The reason for that is there are two set states. In both the set states, we are trying to access the previous state and incrementing that value by 1. Here the difference between other and this is, you clearly mentioned take the previous state and update it. Correct. In that case, React would execute these operations in asynchronous order, definitely, but in a sequence. Okay, so line number 7 is executed first, followed by line number 10. So the updated value of 7 is fed to line number 10 here, because we have mentioned the previous state need to get updated. Correct. In that case, React would honor it. Let's say the previous state was not there. You are just doing like count plus 1. Then the output was same like the exercise number 1, where we would have just honored whatever the most recent one, we would have honored that. As we clearly mentioned, we have to take the previous state. The React is honoring and taking the previous state. This execution happening only after this. So where it is getting the updated value of the count. Okay. So please do not confuse the previous state with no previous state. Always remember this. This is going to be again tricky, because they'll ask you exercise number 1. And then they'll ask you exercise number 5 and they ask you to justify why it's behaving that way there and why it is behaving this way here. Okay, please be careful. Now let's go to exercise number 6. Exercise number 6. So where again, please look at the snippet carefully, where we have one click me button and we have a handle click, which is executing on click of that button. We have a count variable whose default value is 0. In line number 7, every time whenever you click the button, we are incrementing the value of count. Then we have a set timeout, which is basically taking 3 seconds to execute. Correct. Inside that we have an alert. We are rendering the count. Okay. Most of people who are watching, some bulb might have been lightened on their mind. But again, if you know the answer, mention the question number 6 and put your answer. For those who don't know the answer, let me explain. So set timeout, as most know, forms a closure. So the closure, most of you I think are aware of that famous problem like a set timeout inside a for loop. Correct. So this also forms the same property, where whenever a set timeout is done or whenever set timeout is formed, whatever the value of the count, that value of the count itself is being retained. Correct. So it doesn't know, let's say you update the count in the 3 seconds 100 times, set timeout doesn't know what is that you have updated, because whenever a closure is formed, whatever the value it know, that value only it knows. Correct. It doesn't know whatever the value got updated. So the answer would be, always the count would know the last value. So the alert would always show the last value of the count. Okay. Let me go and execute exercise number 6. Okay. So exercise number 6. Okay. So now if you go to exercise number 6 and you click, see, it became 1. So count is 1. If you see, count is 1 here, but the value here is 0 after 3 seconds. Let's say you click, count is 2 and the value is actually 1. Even if you click, let's say you click multiple times, where it has become 4. Correct. You get multiple alerts with the previous values. Okay. Like this, because every time when you click, a new set timeout is formed with the previous value of the count. Okay. Please remember this carefully. So it's nothing to do with React. Actually, it's a fundamental JavaScript. Whenever a closure is formed, it only knows the previous value or current value, and you update that value like any number of times in the given duration, it will not gonna update that value. Okay. Sure. Now let's go to exercise number 7. The code snippet looks slightly lengthier, but it is again very simple one itself. Okay. So what we are doing here is, we have a clear, you have a useEffect and we have a set interval inside that useEffect. Okay. And what we are doing is, every time for every 1 second we are trying to get the previous value of the count and we are updating that count. Okay, and then we have another return timeout which will clear the timeout, and we have another use effect, and whenever the count reaches 5 we are clearing that interval. Okay, the interval that created here, we are clearing that interval here whenever the count reaches the 5. Okay, if you know the answer, again mention that in the comment section, question number 7 and your answer. Okay, but for those who mentioned the answer as something, according to me, most people who watch this particular answer, or whoever wrote the answer for this, is wrong. The simplest answer for this is like ID is undefined. Okay, all of these big code snippets are created just to create a little confusion among you. A lot of people also think like why such snippets are asked in the interview. The whole point of asking such snippets is not that you are going to use the snippets in the day-to-day work, but it is just to test like how is your thought process, because that thought process of solving a problem is necessary in day-to-day work. Okay, now if you look at it, ID is defined in line number 7, which is in this block. Definitely ID cannot be used here, so you're gonna get an error if you execute this code. Okay, which is like ID is undefined in line number whenever you start executing this use effect. Okay, so the expected answer is error. Now we'll go to exercise 8. Okay, exercise 8 is again a very interesting problem. According to me, most would give a wrong answer to this as well, but let us see. So we have value and set value. So where we are having this particular value, we are setting the value as 0, and then again we have a use effect with no dependency array we are passing. Okay, and we are setting the interval, and every 1 second we are incrementing that value by 1. Okay, again if you know the answer, please mention that in the comment section. I'm saying couple of times that you cannot answer, not to just to saying like you're not brilliant. These snippets are like created by me by taking a lot of effort, where it's not like very straightforward to answer. Okay, the whole point is like if you're able to visualize these problems and answer, consider like you are like at a high level than a normal guy with respect to React knowledge. Okay, now coming to this particular answer, or before we go to answer, let me quickly explain what is happening. We have a value whose default value is 0, correct? So how React would do is, again as I told already, the first thing that React would do is it would render, correct? It would render something on the screen. After it rendered something on the screen, then it comes under the use effect, correct? It comes under the use effect. So now inside the use effect, you have a timer, correct? So and you are setting the set interval of 1 second. So every 1 second, this block is going to keep triggering. Okay, and the value here is set to as value plus 1. Set value every time you are incrementing the value by 1. But the important thing to notice here is whatever the value that it knew during the first use effect, right? After that, the use effect is not getting triggered because there is no change in the dependency array. So the value that this particular set interval knew whenever the closure formed is 0. So no matter how many times the set interval executes, the value is always 0 plus 1, which is 1. Okay, let me execute and show it to you. Okay, so I'll go to exercise 8. Now if you see, the value is always 1. Just for the sake of your understanding, I'm putting a log here. Okay, value is value. Okay, if you see, value you're seeing like multiple times, value is always 1 because the closure formed, the use effect triggered only once. It's not having any dependency array, because of which the value did not update. So value was always 0, and set intervals keep triggering every second. The value is updated to 0 plus 1, which is 1. Okay, now the ask for you, or the task for you is, I want this value to be keep updating. So mention question number 8, and every time what I want is every time whenever you set the set value, it will be, I should get the updated value like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be keep getting the new value. If you know how to do that, please mention question number 8 and that particular snippet in the comment section. Okay, now let's go to question number 9. Question number 9. Okay, question number 9. Okay, so the question number 9 is again very straightforward, but again a thought-provoking question. Okay, so if you observe the snippet here, what we have is we have a use effect, and inside the use effect we have a line number 11 window.add event listener. Most of you very well know which is like we have adding an event for resize. So whenever a particular browser is resized, you're gonna get triggered with this particular event. This particular thing is usually used in the programming or website development for doing certain UI changes whenever the browser dimension is changed. For example, you have shrink the browser tab, that means browser length. That means probably you're trying to view in a adjusted, let's say you have 2 tabs, you have adjusted the dimension. Now you want to render the same content without affecting the UI in that particular dimension, because of which usually people use and adjust their UI. Okay. Now we have a add event listener resize, and the event that will be triggered whenever resize happens is handle resize. So again, the default value of count is 0. Inside the handle resize, we are always incrementing the count value by 1. Okay, and we are rendering in line number 18 the value of count. According to me, 90% of you will give a right answer to this, because you've already seen a lot of this use effect and set sort of a question. And if you know the answer, again, if not, you are not mentioned answer for it, at least for the 9th one, I want you to give a right answer. If not, pause the video, think through and give the right answer. Okay, so the right answer for this would be, let me run the code so that you guys can check it. So as you could see, let me first try to resize, because the event actually get triggered whenever you're trying to resize. Okay, just for your understanding sake, let me put a log here. Screen resized. Okay, and I'm mentioning the count here. Okay, so let me try resizing the window now. See, you see, like every time I am trying to resize, the logs I'm getting 43 times and the screen resize is 1. So the value of the count is always 1. The reason again is very straightforward. So here, despite you wrote the function outside, it's actually a closure, correct? Whenever window.add event listener, you have kept a function, whatever the value of the count that was given in this function, the same only it knows. It doesn't know that count is getting updated, correct? So it keep adding that set count as 0, and it is incrementing the value by 1. So if you have to update the count every time, you mention in the comment section how you do. Like for example, whenever I'm resizing, the value of count should be keep incrementing. How to do that? Please mention that in the comment section. Okay. Now we'll go to the last problem, exercise 10. Okay. So I'm sure by now again you will be able to answer this question also properly. That is the whole intention. If you're able to answer this question properly, assume yourself like you have learned some good React concepts in this 20-25 minutes of time. Okay. So now let's say again the snippet is very simple. The default value of count is 0. You have set count where you increment the count by 2 times, and there's an increment button where every time whenever you click, you're incrementing the count value by same count plus 1, count plus 1. If you know the answer, again mention the question number 10 and put your answer in the comment section. For those who still like struggling a little bit, let me explain the answer to them. Okay, so here let me click on increment. The value is 1. Clicking again, the value is 2. The answer again is very straightforward. So we have 2 set counts which are doing the same operation. So the both will be executed asynchronously, but ensuring the order of execution. So both of them would pick the count as 0. So no previous value is put here. So we are not expecting the previous value to update. So the count is always 0 plus 1 and 0 plus 1. The most updated value will be whatever is the thing. So in first iteration, both are 0. So 0 plus 1 will be 1. Second time, 1 plus 1 will be 2. If you go to, I think, exercise number 3 or exercise number 5, I think. If you go here, we are trying to access the previous state and update the count by 1. So you see here, you have mentioned the count here and updating the count by 1. Because of which every time whenever you click, both the set states are executing and you are getting the updated value. Whereas in exercise number 10, we are repeating the same operation. So one operation will be always discarded and the other operation will be honored, which is doing the same thing basically. Incrementing the count value always by 1 and not by 2. Okay. I hope you enjoyed the session. All the code snippets I'm going to put, like I told, in my GitHub repository or in my new book that I'm publishing, so that you could get the snippets and practice by yourself. Okay. And I'm sure most of you like the video. Only way, see, there's a lot of time and effort involved in making a video like this. If you like the video, please like the video and share with your friends. And if you're not subscribed to my channel CareerwithVasanth, please subscribe. Whatever you felt honestly regarding the video, please mention. That will help you to make more such good content. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next video.